All I can imagine is Nisi with like 3 monitors in the background, different screens, checking every single platform.
I wish. It's literally my Mac. I'm not even like connected to my screen. And the great thing is it shows you. So there's like a little dashboard and it'll say, oh, you're live on X. We're 85% uploading to LinkedIn, whatever that means.
Great. Almost there.
As I say, the fact you're even attempting this is amazing. I wouldn't even know where to start, Nisi.
Okay, yeah, it's saying we're live on LinkedIn as well. So let me just have a look.
Exciting.
Yes, we are live on LinkedIn.
Yay.
Let me check.
Hello, LinkedIn.
Let me check what's happening. There's a clicking sound. I don't know if that's intentional.
I heard that. Yeah, I thought it was like some sort of countdown. What is that?
Yeah, no.
For me.
Oh,
I know who that is.
Is that you, Ron?
it stopped now.
It stopped.
Yeah, okay, and we're live on LinkedIn as well. Oh, that was easy. I mean, on YouTube. Yeah, so we're live across both. I can see you all looking very glam, loving it.
Yay.
Really?
Yeah.
Was that what you were going for? I didn't go for glam.
That's the last thing I want to look is glam.
It's natural. It's natural. You know, some of these things you can't hide them, Mark. It's just
Thanks. Yeah.
Natural radiance, Mark. Embrace.
Exactly. It's that inner beauty as well.
Exactly.
I feel like I should send you more cash. You've all been saying nice things. It's okay. Ron will insult me and bring me back down in a minute, I'm sure.
It's all about balance, Mark. It's
Absolutely.
all about balance.
Okay, so we've got about 5 minutes anyway until the advertised time.
So having done things like this before with Ron, can I just say, in the 5 minutes, please don't ask him to sing, because he will, just to fill the gap.
Hey, look, what was my answer to Nissy's LinkedIn message? As the Four Tops sang, I'll be there.
Do you have the power to remove people?
I told you.
Mark, I'm quite enjoying it. I'm sorry.
I think this is great. What a way to start.
I'm really enjoying it, so sorry.
What's your favorite song, Ron?
Oh, God.
Mark?
Hey, another song. In my youth, I used to play with a band when I was working in Germany. And we actually cut a single, would you believe? Which sold about 500 copies.
Oh my God.
What was it called?
Were you on a triangle, mate?
Hey?
I said, were you on the triangle?
I also had a mate that I used to go to school with. I went to school in Malta, and he played with Ian Jury and the Blockheads before they became Ian Jury and the Blockheads. He played with a band called the Kilburn and the High Roads, and when he split from Kilburn and the High Roads, Ian Jury formed the Blockheads, and he went off on his own and formed a punk band called 999. And they're still gigging today, even at, and he's about my age as well. And I mean, when I was in the UK before I came over here, we went to quite a few of their gigs, and they were mad, absolutely mad. Well, you can imagine, the old sort of punks, 50, 60-year-old punks dancing around on the dance floor, crazy, absolutely crazy.
I don't know if you ladies are aware, but Ron has met many a celebrity in his time.
Yeah, I used to work for a radio station in the Germany, and I've still got all of the CDs, the original interviews I did with them. So people like Duran, who else was there? Orchestral Manoeuvres in the Dark, Simple Minds, all the sort of rock bands of the 80s. So
Oh my
still got
God, Ron.
about
You,
40, 50 years old now.
you must have some stories.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
A long time ago. It seems like years ago. Of course, it was years ago. For goodness' sake.
Oh, and you went from that into change. I mean, that's a bit of a different career.
Mm.
And I mean, while I was at the radio station, we used to go out. We used to have. I didn't interview them, but people like Phil Collins. It's sad to see him the way he is nowadays, but he came over. We went to his gig, and then we joined him for dinner afterwards. We went to what's it called? I can't remember. See, my brain is going. They did Vienna. Who did Vienna? Can't remember now. You're probably too young to remember that, you lot.
Not heard of it.
Midure, who did Live Aid with Bob Geldof, his band, whatever they were called. I can't remember what they were. But we went backstage partying with them as well. It was great. It was really, I was supposed to be what they call their administrative officer. But, you know, I got into the music side of things.
So, Ron, how did you leave the music industry and decided to jump ship to change management?
I was working for the Ministry of Defence, and this job I got in Germany was for the British Forces radio station. It was their admin officer. Then after 2.5 years, they sort of went private to call the Services Sound and Vision Corporation, and I was sent back to the UK because I was working for the MOD. But then I eventually left the MOD and went to work for Abbey National, and then I left them and went on the contract market. That was my story, in short.
I love that. Thank you for sharing with us.
Okay, so it's just hit 12. We'll give it a couple of minutes, maybe about 3 minutes or so, because 12 is the advertised time, and then we'll get started.
Yay!
Exciting.
I knew you'd be good at filling the gap there, Ron.
We still didn't get a whole song though. We got a tiny snippet.
I know.
That was enough. That was enough.
I feel slightly shortchanged, I'll be honest.
What about you, Mark? Would you like to sing a song?
Absolutely not. I sound like a cat in a blender. I would scare your children if you have them. I'm terrible. No. Oh, definitely not. I'm not a singer. Not a dancer particularly either, but definitely not a singer. Listen, we're going to be meeting up soon as well, in person, in real life, in the flesh.
Know.
Yes.
I know. Next week. I can't
Yes.
wait. I can't. How tall are you?
Well, go ahead with the meeting then.
Okay, we're live on LinkedIn. All right, let's just calm it.
On LinkedIn and YouTube as well.
And YouTube. Yes. Happily married. Sorry. I'm 5'7". How tall are you?
No,
You've
the
got
reason
to
why I
explain
ask
this
is because you know
now.
when you're in this little screen, you've got no sense of dimension. So I meet people and I'm like, oh my gosh, you're that tall or you're that small. So that's always the first thing that really takes me aback.
Okay, no idea where that was going. I didn't know if you wanted me to get something off a shelf for you, or no idea. It was
just in case your wife is watching, I'm married too. Oh god!
Oh my god!
But yes, looking forward to meeting you. Yeah, next week.
And I was like, out. Oh, this is amazing. The energy that just expels.
Oh, man. All this free entertainment, we ought to charge next time. So there's 21 people have joined and are waiting. So just to let you know, we're going to give it a couple of minutes. It's just gone 12. Usually people are going from meeting to meeting. So just to give them that chance to get situated, and then we will start. I promise. So just another 2 more minutes, if that's okay.
They're in for a treat. That's all I'm going to say. They're in for a treat. Do you know one of my favourite comments on LinkedIn ever in the history of me being on LinkedIn was on this post, and it was from I think it was from Greg, and Greg wrote, he he saw who was on today, and he wrote that lineup is better than most festivals.
Oh,
And I just thought,
I love it.
I love that comment. Absolutely love that comment.
what did I say? LinkedIn rock stars right here.
Oh my God. I hope Greg is here with us.
I do.
Yeah.
Greg, if you're here,
yeah.
please let us know.
yeah. Message, Greg. Message.
Oh gosh, so we've got a couple of hellos coming in. Hi Sue, hi Naveen, hi Susanna, hi Usman, hi Vian. Really looking forward to this conversation. As I mentioned, we'll just give it another minute or so, just in case people are joining. For those who haven't been part of a live, there's about a minute lag. And that's just the nature of the streaming software. So if you ask a question and you're wondering why, it's just we haven't maybe got there yet, or we've gone a bit forward, but we will get to what we can. Please drop any questions you have in the chat. We'll get round to as many as we can. We do have a couple of questions that we have prepared as a panel that I'll be guiding us all through. But if you do have something that you're burning to ask and you joined especially for that, please do drop it in the comments, and we'll get around to that as soon as we can.
Oh my God, I'm so excited.
The energy in the room, right?
Nobody messaged and asked me for my height. This has already done that. Okay, we've been there. We've covered that.
Anyone joining now would be like, what on earth?
Honestly, my brain sometimes is on a bit of a lag behind my mouth.
Welcome.
We all are, Nisi.
So let's get started. Welcome to Change Management Across Generations, Evolving Tools and Enduring Challenges. And we are here to explore today if there's a difference in how you approach change depending on when you've entered the workforce, and really to share knowledge and what we can learn from each other, and also to look to the future. We're all also experiencing massive change at the moment, and is there ways that we can educate and equip each other to more efficiently go on that journey? So I have my wonderful panel with me today, and just going around as I see them on the screen. So we have Emma, we've got Matura, we've got Mark, we've got Ron, we've got Monica, and I'm going to hand over to them each one by one to introduce themselves. So Emma, can we have a short intro? Who are you?
Yeah, thank you, Nisi, and thank you so much for inviting me along to be part of this. It is a phenomenal group. I described this group as LinkedIn Change Management rock stars, and I absolutely believe that. So you're in great company. So a little bit about me. So I've been in change and transformation for about 20 years. So I got into change very early in my career as a John Lewis graduate. John Lewis is a fantastic graduate scheme for those of you that might have kids at that age and looking to explore options. But my career started in John Lewis, and I worked there for the best part of a decade, doing all sorts of change and transformation around contact center change, HR transformation, supplier management. I even did a bit of pensions in my time there. And then I moved to HSBC. So I decided that for me as a change manager, if I wanted to be really agile and really adaptable to any industry, I needed to start moving around, and I realised I'd probably got a little bit too comfy at John Lewis. So moved to HSBC, stayed there for about 6 years before I joined Project One. So I'm at Project One Consulting, where I've been for 3 years. So a real mix in terms of having worked in big corporate environments, moving into consultancy, and like I say, a real breadth of the types of change that I have worked on. So yeah, that's probably everything I'll cover off, Nisi, for now.
Thank you. And Matura, can we have an intro? Who are you and what's been your journey into change so far?
Hi everyone, my name's Mathura. Thank you so much, Nisi, for organising this. I'm probably one of the most least experienced when it comes to change in here, so I'm very grateful to be here. My transition into change was actually out of curiosity. My background is actually in psychology and counselling, and I had done numerous corporate jobs, account management, real estate, a lot of things under the radar. And then I kind of transitioned into change after doing my master's in organizational change and management consultancy. And it was then when I realized that change can actually be managed, and that just sparked curiosity. Did my master's, and now I work as a project officer at a change management firm. So yeah, that's what's brought me here today into the change management industry.
Thank you. And I would love to hear more about your masters, because I'm trying to, when I entered industry, I don't know if project management and change management and masters and degrees were as big a thing as they are now. Maybe other people can pitch in, but I think I've definitely seen an uptick. So I would love to hear more from you about that. Mark, can we have your intro and your journey into change, please?
Yeah, sure. So Mark Green, CEO, founder of Change Rebellion, essentially a madman with a LinkedIn account. Oh, crikey, when did I get into change management? Sometime after I left the Russian ballet. Totally joking about that. I was not in the Russian ballet. I got into it. I started at the very bottom. I come from a very grounded background. I started in post rooms and things like that, and then slowly worked my way up, and people saw something in me that I have no idea what they saw. And yeah, and eventually, after a very, very long journey, lots of twists and winding things, and yeah, I launched Change Spelling a couple of years ago, and it's been fun ever since.
Thank you, Mark. And being a founder, and Change Rebellion, I remember, was one of the first LinkedIn profiles talking about change that I came across that caught my attention. I found a lot of content maybe a bit samey, and I think there's something incredibly unique that you bring to the space that is so powerful. So again, would love to hear more about what inspired you to have that take. It's incredibly bold considering that the industry. And talking of bold, I think what better way to introduce Ron?
Thank you very much. How long have you got? Okay, I'll give you a very quick brief history of my 50 plus years in change management. Okay, wow. I started off in 1974. I attended a 3-month intensive course at what they called the Royal Military College of Science, now called the Defence Academy. It was called Work Study by J.M. Curry. Work Study was basically looking at the way people work, mapping their processes, changing the processes, and then changing the way they work. So that was the beginning of my involvement in change. I spent 20 years with the Ministry of Defence before I made a key decision to leave because I got bored because they wouldn't promote me. I wonder why. I'm not saying why. I then joined Abbey, which was Abbey National then, and then it converted to a bank called Abbey. It's now been taken over by Banco Santander. I again left them after about 8 years because they worked with a lot of consultants, and those consultants I was working with all pinch all my ideas. So I thought I can do that. So I went on the contract market in 1996, and I did that in the UK up until 2010. But then I made the key decision to change my life entirely and move over here to Thailand to try and implement changes here and do my thing over here. Hard going, to be honest. Thailand doesn't know anything about change management, but places like Singapore, Malaysia, Philippines, and places like that do, Indonesia. I worked on the contract market here until 2019, so from 2011 to 2019. And then I was working in Indonesia at the time, and COVID hit, so all the airports were shut down, etc. And I thought, what can I do next? I can't do consulting anymore, so I started training in 2019, and that's what I've been doing for the last 6 years. 6 years, yeah. Very successfully, I hasten to add. So yeah, I've trained goodness knows how many people from all over the world in my driving change management training course. It's basically a very practical, basic, pragmatic course that looks at change from a very simplistic perspective. Yeah, and that's it. So,
wow. Thanks, Ron. And no, genuinely, if you're interested in hearing a bit more about Ron's story, we've got a previous live that is still up on LinkedIn, so you can hear a bit more from him on there. Monica, please tell us a bit more about you.
Thank you, Nissy, and thank you so much for organizing this. Like Emma said, it's just such a privilege to be here with superstars and to learn from your rich experiences and different backgrounds and perspectives. So keep it short and sweet. My name is Monica. I'm a change manager. I'm really, really passionate about people, change, and creating psychologically safe and inclusive spaces where people feel heard and supported to navigate change in the workplace. I would say a big part of what I do and a big part of my work is empowering and coaching leaders to lead change in ways that are more human and impactful and truly inclusive to help people make sense of the changes that are happening. Outside of work, I volunteer with the Change Management Institute. I love creating content on LinkedIn as well. And I host a mental health podcast as well, which really reflects what I believe at my core, that change is deeply human. And I'm really, really happy to be here representing Gen Z in this conversation. I think my generation has been shaped by, growing up online, entering the workforce, just a few years before the pandemic or even after as well. And just having a different kind of fluency, I think, around all things mental health, neurodiversity, and identity related. So yeah, super excited to be part of the conversation today.
Thank you,
I
Monica.
nearly sang a song then
Oh God.
Can
when
we
you
have one
said
line?
my generation, but I'm not going to.
I love it.
So what I love about what you said is, and I think one thing that we've seen with Gen Z, and it's probably evolved with each generation, but this more kind of understanding about the humanity in work.
Mm,
Like we aren't just machines. You can't just switch off and come to work and then switch back on when you go home. And I really am impressed by and constantly inspired by the boldness and audaciousness of the Gen Z, like the collective Gen Z spirit around, if
mm,
this is not for me, it's not for me. And I'm not going to try and squeeze into whatever you're pushing. So, yeah, really looking forward to hearing how that impacts maybe how you work and how you guide stakeholders through who are maybe not of that opinion on different change journeys. So, first of all, I wanted to open up by discussing what tools or models have shaped your thinking. Have any tools or models shaped your thinking?
That's a
And
good
for
start.
Mark,
That is. Mark's laughing as well.
Awesome. Can't wait.
let's go with you, Mark. First sound gets to speak. Go on.
Oh, favorite topic of ours, this isn't it, Ron? Um, as no, no, none really. I get. So you had mentioned earlier about Change Rebellion being one of the first you saw and everything else, and the reason it is the way it is and the way I present the way I present is because I actually fell out of love with change management. Completely out of love with it. I thought everything was boring, samey.
mm,
I was tired of hearing about the same old models, tired about hearing about the same old frameworks. There was literally only two people that I really, back in the day, followed on LinkedIn. We've got one of them here. The other lady is in Australia, Barb Grant, because they were different. And they were saying things that were honest and practical and straightforward. And
mm,
I liked that. And it just resonated with me. So when I sort of fell out of love with change management, I went away and looked in other industries that appealed to me, that drew me in, that entertained me, that made me smile, made me laugh, and I'm like, why don't we do that in change? We're a
mm.
people-centric,
Yeah.
human industry. Why aren't we trying to draw people in, make
Mm,
people smile, make people feel great about themselves? And also with change, let's just make it simple. The
mm,
very simple concept of if you help people through something, it's probably going to be more successful. That's it. That's its simplicity. And we as human beings love making it complicated.
yeah.
So yeah, so I basically said, when I decided to come back into the change management world, I knew that I was going to try and be radically different. Radically different. I wanted to be noticed. I wanted to stand out. I wanted to. I mean, Ron and I do something very similar. We just do it in different ways. We talk about let's take change back to its roots and let's be honest, and it's about people, and let's not get bogged down with the 60 plus frameworks and models. Let's just look at what people need, the core, the essence of change management, and build
Mm,
out from there rather than trying to go hell for leather with a you know one of my friends at ProSci or others. So yeah, it just for me it was about coming into change, being radically different, engaging with people. We do it in our work. Why can't I do that on social media or when I talk or when I present, or just engage?
When you were a baby change manager, were there any frameworks that you like would hang your hat on? So did
no,
you cast your mind back?
So I started out as my where I originally came from was a boutique consultancy, and I had two avenues to go. I could have gone PM or CM, and it was really obvious to me I was CM through and through. There was very little PM in me whatsoever. So I went into CM world, and there was models and frameworks that we'd used that were created, but again they were all very what I would call straightforward, common sense approach. So I've mentored a couple of people too, and it's been a delightful experience. I always say, read as much as you can, look at them all, that's great, but there isn't any single one that is right. So look at the models, look at the frameworks, build your knowledge up, same as engaging with people like us, get to know us all, because it's really useful and you'll find lots of interesting personalities. But I just then bring it back and just use common sense and look at how you're going to apply it. It's not, we're not brain surgery, and I don't know if everyone's going to agree with me or disagree on this statement, but it's not a science either. We use science to enhance what we do. We use it. We use psychology. We use neuroscience. We use science to enhance change management, but change management itself is not a science. So that's just how I feel anyway. Just getting that out. Big wooden spoon. Sure, there'll be a few
Controversial
comments.
statement.
Yeah. So that's me. That's Change Rebellion. That's how we view the world. Start with the basics, build out.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
I think it's-
Matura, how was it
Yes.
for you? So, and I'm also keen to hear if what you're saying is from you or if it's something that you gained from your masters. Do you know what I mean? Talk to
Well,
us.
if I'm totally honest, obviously, like I said, I didn't know change could be managed. So all of that was made visible to me when I was doing my masters. And a lot of it was very theoretical, Cotz's 8-step model, Lewin's 3-stage model, McKinsey's 7-step framework. But I was sitting there and I was thinking about what Mark just said. Like, it's common sense. It's literally common sense. It's like when it comes to these models, they're very like tick boxy and checklisty, like you go tick, tick, tick. But when you break it down, it's actually what's in the mind as well. So just applying common sense to make change stick is something that I feel like we are lacking today, because we refer to trying to stick to these models and we're lacking that human approach. So I still remember sitting in my master's lectures and being like, applying like common sense could get us there as well. And sometimes it did get boring because we're hearing the same things again and again. Like, it's not going to stick. It hasn't, in my opinion anyways. So yeah, that's my approach to it. So a lot of what you said, Mark, I do agree with. So yeah, I've just thought even more, I feel like. But yeah.
Monica, I think I cut you off. Were you about to say something
Me?
before? Yeah.
Oh, no.
Okay.
I think it might have been Emma.
Yeah, I was just going to jump in on something that Mark mentioned around, I guess, people's understanding of the frameworks available, because it felt like when I was a baby change manager, and I really started as more of a project manager and more in kind of the PPM world before I then moved into CM. So what Mark said kind of really resonated. But I remember all of the roles that I was looking for when I was a baby CM/PM, all they cared about was Prince 2. So Prince 2 was on every job advert, if you remember, like that was put, on a pedestal as the thing you needed to know about. And I don't know how many of you, how long has it been since you actually saw a reference to Prince 2? Years?
Yeah, and I did my Prince 2 in that way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Easy. I was like, I want that badge. But I haven't looked at it or even, touched on any of the methodology for a long, long time.
Yeah, thank you. And Ron?
Oh dear. Okay, models and methodologies, eh? Yes. Okay. One of my crusades, just like project management versus change management, just like 70% of all transformations fail, etc., etc. Models and methodologies. I've never used, well, I tell a lie. after spending 10 years on the contract market after I left my Abbey National, I hadn't been trained in any model. I just did change, based on what I thought was right, what I thought was the best way to do it. But what I found was that during that 10 years and working in different industry sectors, from financial services to utilities to whatever, I found that I was kind of doing the same thing all the time. I was engaging with stakeholders. I was talking to sponsors and trying to get them to understand what they needed to do. I was creating communication plans, etc. And I thought, hey, there's all this stuff. I'm going to build a framework. I don't call it a model or a methodology. I'm going to build a framework. So in 2005, I built my practical framework approach to change. And it's not something that is set in concrete. Basically, it's a modular approach, and you can just pick and choose what you want. And this is one of the things that I do in part of my training. But it kind of, and from 2005 onwards, I've also always used it in any assignment. And the way it works is you go in and you say, okay, this is what my approach is. What do you have as an internal capability to help me deliver change to your organization? What is it? Do you have process people? Do you have a communications department? Do you have HR? Yes, you do. So they can help with job roles and responsibilities, etc. So what you do is you marry the internal capabilities with my framework, and you build a bespoke model for an organization. Okay, specifically taking note of their culture, their people, and what they've delivered before, and so forth. And it is really bespoke, and that kind of gains, and I hate to use the phrase buy-in, okay, because that's an old phrase that's been kicking around for ages, and I think we need a new one. But that helps senior management, if you present them with, look, this is the way I'm going to approach the change for your organization. I've taken account of all the internal capabilities, etc., but I've also brought in stuff from my framework, etc. Where there were gaps, I may have gone to Cotter, or I may have gone to ProSci, wash my mouth out with soap, etc. Sorry. So it's literally, and I've used that practical framework approach to change every time I've gone into a consulting assignment. And it works. It works. Just to do a little bit of promotion, I have a freebie that you can download from the website called flevy.com. And I've had over 20,000 downloads of my practical framework approach to change. So if you talk about models and methodologies, yes, I know about ProSci, and I know about Cotter, and I know about Lewin, and I know about Bridges and stuff like that. But they are all fairly rigid in their sort of application. And what I found is, when I've been training people, is that especially ProSci, okay, I'm going to name names, especially ProSci, people find it hard to break out of the approach. You know, if they suddenly get faced with something that isn't in the training manual, or they haven't been trained on, or whatever, they can't go, oh yeah, where my common sense tells me, because common sense is not that very common, to be honest. Okay, so yes, that's my view.
Yeah, thank you. And just to throw my own opinion in there, when I started out in change, actually my go-to framework was Cotter, which is a lot of steps, probably a bit more rigid than most. I think it's probably one of the most rigid steps. You've also got that call to introduce a burning platform. And I've said this, like, for how long is the platform going to burn? How do we have any platform left? And I've seen my evolution, as you've mentioned, Ron. It was very hard for me to break away initially, and I think sometimes environment can also impact on that. I was working in a heavily regulated industry in financial services. Sometimes your common sense pipes up, but the regulation is stronger, you know, and so sometimes because of that, it limits. But one evolution I have seen, and I think probably collectively as a people globally, we're understanding that change is human now a bit more. Not everybody gets it completely, but I think that is an evolution. That's been my kind of own kind of reflection and observation. For you all, is there anything that you've seen within your years in industry that's changed from when you entered versus now? Mark, you've got your hand raised.
Thank you. Yeah, no, big one. I think massive one at the moment. AI. So one of us had to say it. So yeah, the reason being, because I was in an event just last week, and we talked about AI. I've been in a few, and they always talk about people. And it's like, people are so important with AI. It's people, people, people. And I'm like, welcome, hello, we're change managers. We've been doing this for a long time now. Where have you been? Nice to have you with us. So it's amazing that people are now starting to associate people change with AI, whereas we know amongst this group here, it's always been about people. So that's the biggest change I think I've seen recently, is that everything I've seen, every place I go, when it's talking about AI, it always comes back to don't forget about your people. So yeah, that's a biggie for me.
Can I just interject there? One of the things I forgot to mention was there was a study done not so long ago by the Oxford Review Briefings, who I use a lot because they're very, very sort of, they've got a lot of good information. And they did a kind of a bit of research across all of the models and methodologies, the better known ones like the Cotters and the Procise and the Britneys, etc. And then what they found was not one model of organizational change actually did the full and whole job. Yeah. And then what they did was another literature review, and they actually found that there were 6 principles that they use. And I can't for the life of me remember what those principles are, but they said not one model actually works across the whole spectrum of change. So these are the principles, however, related to those models that would actually work, that you need to actually use within whatever your model methodology you want to use.
I really
Quite
like that,
interesting,
Ron.
that was.
Yeah, that really resonates with me as well. And to be honest, one of the things that I've noticed recently, or at least in my bubble on LinkedIn and people that I follow, is that there is a consensus that, one size fits all approaches don't work on people and organizations. Like, our workplaces are so complex, they're systems of people are complex. Like, we can't predict how people are going to react to change. So why do we think that one framework, one tool, one model is going to solve all of our problems?
I think there's something else I was going to mention as well, but I can't remember what it was now, for goodness sake. What was it?
Mark, you
yeah,
wonderful.
ProSci. Sorry, just very quickly. ProSci did some research not so long ago, and I do like ProSci for their research. Okay, they did some research not so long ago, and what they found was between 2013 and 2023 that the number of organizations that used models and methodologies, current models and methodologies, dipped from a high of 79 down to 69%. So people, organizations, less organizations are actually using models and methodologies, and it's probably the rise of adaptability and agile and so forth. Yeah. So that was interesting research. As I said, I like ProSci for their research.
Definitely.
Apart from
Sorry, Emma, you were going to say something.
Yeah, it was a build on what Mark was saying there. So where we started to explore about, how is the human element of change, and it ties in there with what Ron was just saying about, people are perhaps maybe moving away from traditional frameworks and recognizing it is more fluid. And I think that for me has been one of the biggest changes in my career. So I feel like the way we approached working with people a long time ago was more like a process. It was almost like, right, we need to get them from A to B. These are the steps in between. Communications was much, the approach to communications was very much a download. It was far removed from where we are today in terms of that whole co-creation, collaboration. And I don't really think, when I think back to my early years, I don't think there was much consideration given to how people might react. It was very much, right, we're about to go live. Let's get some comms out and on you go. So I think that whole approach has changed hugely. And like you mentioned it, Mark, about, behavioral science and the fact that people are now aware of this and thinking, well, how do people actually respond? It comes from a place of fear, or it always comes from a place of logic. I don't think any consideration was given to any of that, even going back to when I started 20 years ago. So it's great to see, but it is a significant step change from where we were.
Absolutely. Ron.
Yeah, just very quickly, the one thing I've learned from 52 years now, for goodness sake, I feel like I'm dead. From 52 years of working in change is that it's very important. I think Mark alluded to this earlier on. It's very important to actually involve the people. And when I say involve the people, I don't just mean engage with them. I mean, get them to actually co-create stuff, to collaborate with you, to get involved in sort of designing processes, designing solutions, etc., etc. Okay, it may be a little bit, how can I put it? Can't think of the word now. But it's so important that they have some kind of say in what's going on, rather than to be told something via some push communication. So get them. It may be a bit. I can't think of the word now. See, my brain's going at my age. Why? I can't think of the word now. But it's quite it's a revolutionary. Might be a revolutionary thought that, you know, to actually get these, what I would call operational people, the people that are actually doing the job, getting involved in this change. But it is so important because they feel then part of it. They feel that they have been part of building this change. It's going to impact them in the future. And that's the one thing I've kept with me since 1974. Make sure you involve the people.
Just one final thing. So firstly, Ron and I are doing really well because you haven't asked us to shut up yet. Secondly, you know, the most important thing, cake, you know, baked goods. When you're in change, you have to have baked goods. Okay, don't walk into a meeting without baked goods.
Grapes. There's a lot of food intolerances now, so like grapes.
Okay.
I've got to say, I love this conversation so far. It's great, absolutely brilliant. I love it.
And Matura, was there something you were
try
going
and
to
keep
say?
my mouth shut in future.
No.
No, and Monica, before we move on to the next one.
Yeah, no, I just want to say I totally agree with what people have mentioned, you know, earlier about, you know, the tools and the models, and really resonated what Emma mentioned around those linear models as well. You know, we've mentioned Prince 2 earlier, and I know we dropped names around ADCAR and ProSci and everything. I think, you know, in my experience when I started, and I think like many early practitioners, I was really trying to learn, you know, a bit of everything to build my confidence. But like Mark said at the beginning, I think the most important thing is to get involved in the community and to learn from others as well, because that's when you get exposure to their ways of working, their ways of approaching change. You know, whether it's through neuroscience, behavioral science, you know, lean change as well, and so many other ways of thinking about change or approaching change. I think it's really important that we have tools and models to have a solid toolkit for us as change practitioners, but we can't just rely on one framework. We have to be open. And I really liked what Ron said around having principles and things that we need to focus on, and the levers that we know we can pull to, you know, bring people in, to co-create solutions with them, to create safe spaces for honest conversations, and to build alignment together so that people can actually make sense of why that change is happening and what they need to do in that future state.
Absolutely. So we'll have 10 more minutes of our discussion, and then there's quite a few questions. So I do want to leave 15 minutes because I know there's quite a few questions that people want to get your opinion on. So we're going to do a quick fire round. Surprise. It's a question that I would have told you about, but I want you to answer with one word or one sentence, right?
Oh my
So
goodness.
what skills are non-negotiable for change managers regardless of generation? So one word or one sentence.
What are we doing? We put hands up, we've got a buzzer.
Okay,
what do we
Emma,
do?
we'll go with you. Yeah, Emma.
Emotional intelligence.
Emotional intelligence. Okay. Matura?
Being empathetic.
Empathy.
Empathy.
Oh, that's what I wanted to
Matura
say.
got there first. Ron, you'll have to think of another one. Mark Green, what's yours?
Sarcasm. I live by it, so you know I could not throw it in. Yeah, I mean there's other things obviously. The empathy is the biggest one, right? We all know that. It's what we do. But yeah, we all throw something out of our characters into the mix as well. And in my case, it's sarcasm.
All right, Ron.
After I thought I'd mentioned, I have to think of another one. I think that now a non-negotiable is understanding how the brain works in relation to change. Neuroscience.
Absolutely.
I know Mark might disagree with me there, but
no, it's I view it the same, no, I view it the same way as I do about the models and methodologies. We need to learn about it all because it can enhance what we do. It can really help us, and neuroscience is a great example. It helps us. I don't dismiss any of this stuff, even if I don't actively use it, and you know, I think it's really same with psychology. Again, it can enhance what we do and the way we deliver. So you know, I'm not saying anything's rubbish. Yeah.
Okay. All right, Monica.
I was going to say empathy, but I do need to come up with another one. And I think it'll probably be curiosity. I think it's important that we stay open, adaptable, and that we're always looking to learn new things.
Okay. The one that I would add is commercial awareness. I think there's a big gulf between how change management is perceived and what we deliver. And I think commercial awareness is that gap. We do not present ourselves, and that's the royal we, in a way that shows the business this is not a negotiable
Yeah.
across the piece. So that would be mine. Okay.
Sorry, this is quickly, just very, very quickly. Sorry. I just think it's really important as well because we're all humans. So I mentioned earlier at the beginning, where did I come from? Yeah, I wasn't doing change anything at all. I was like, I say, post rooms, delivery boy, whatever. I went through a journey, just like we talk about the journey all the time. And it's just really important that we just remember we're all humans and we're in this world. And in change in particular, we're here to help other humans. That's what we do. So stay humble, stay who you are, stay authentic. I know we use all those things all the time, but it's humans with humans. I don't, what Ron and I know we both don't like this, is when egos at play and people take over. We should help people through change at every single level.
Absolutely. Can I just mention one more, which is important in today's technology implementations, is artificial intelligence. Yeah, I think that is now non-negotiable in change because it can do so many things for us change managers to help us with what we deliver, help us with our efficiency, analyzing stuff, etc. So I think it's a non-negotiable, and I think it's totally non-negotiable. And I'm just wondering how many of you are AI clones. Are you all real?
No. Mark couldn't be here today, so he sent me instead.
We laugh, but probably a year from now,
Yeah.
So yeah, watch this space. Okay, final question before I take the questions from the comments. What do you admire about how other generations approach change? Again, just one thing.
That's an interesting question.
That's a really good one.
Can I jump in, Nisi? So I think for me and Monica, we were having this discussion recently about how when I was starting out in my career, like LinkedIn, I don't even know when LinkedIn launched, but it wasn't a thing. Like Facebook had only just launched. Like that was the only social media really that we had. And I think now what really impresses me about the younger generations coming through in change management is just the sheer energy and enthusiasm to share. So the fact that Monica, I'll call you out because you are phenomenal with all of your content, and as Nisa, you're the same. But like the younger generation seem more, I don't know, they just seem more open and appreciative of the power that can come from sharing with others and how you can learn from other people. So that power of networking and really helping each other, I see that more from the younger change managers coming through than perhaps like certainly in my generation. I don't really see a huge amount of millennials sharing that much content. So I do think that is a huge superpower.
Whoa. Emma, I'm Gen X. Excuse me.
Mark is like, what about me?
I said millennial for that reason. I think I'm the only one on the call.
Can I just say that I think what I admire most nowadays from when I first started was the knowledge that I was able to gain was very, very limited. Yeah? There were only a few sort of pioneers of change around in those days, and it was called something totally different anyway. But now there is so much knowledge that people can tap
Yeah.
into with relation to change. Did you know that if you put change management in as a search string into Google, you get something like 3.5 billion hits? Yeah.
Wow.
So that is sometimes a good thing because you got a lot
Mm.
of information to actually look at, but it's a bad thing because people can't actually focus in on something specific. But I do admire the amount of knowledge that there is nowadays, and also the understanding of different types of change from different types of people, you know, who are doing different kinds of things. So,
Yeah.
and they're all providing this knowledge and etc. And of course, that's all being swallowed up by the big LLMs and so forth. So, you know, AI, Google, 3.6 billion, absolutely masses of information there. And as I said, it's either a good thing or a bad thing. I'm not quite sure. I do still use Google, to be honest, yeah, but I use AI as well. So, yeah, that's one thing I admire.
That Google search you did, Ron, where it was 3 billion, that went up by 2 billion after I did that video in the shower of getting the award. I'm sure that's what it was. Sure, that's what happened.
Absolutely. Matura, do you want to?
I think for me, when it comes to the older generation, I actually admire the authentic knowledge as well that you guys bring, because obviously now I feel like we rely so much on AI and everything's, you know, on the internet, whereas, you know, 30, 40 years ago, stepping into change management, it was all, you know, knowledge taken from all these models and books. And so I feel like we lack that now. So I think that's one thing I admire, the authentic knowledge that we still are able to, you know, rely and talk about today. And yeah, just the older generation bringing a more structured approach to change as well, rather than just jumping straight in with no sense of direction. So yeah.
Thank you. And I would build on that actually. I think one of the things that I'm so grateful for is that there is a pretty strong foundation. The reason that we're able to push and adapt and to have this opportunity to experiment is because there's that foundation there, and
Yeah.
because we've seen what doesn't work. And sometimes it's easy to take that for granted, like, oh, this is too rigid. But actually, it's the foundation what has shown us what rigidity looks like. And I think that
Exactly.
ought to be honored, you know,
Yeah.
otherwise it's complete chaos. So I think the generations before us have given us a really good foundation, and they've given us that the structures and the frameworks to push back against,
I
which I think
completely
is
agree.
incredibly helpful, you know.
Yeah, I completely agree, Nisi. And if I can build a little bit on that as well, I think one of the things that I really, really admire about the other generations as well is the experience, you know, the resilience and the perseverance as well that they bring to the change work and the progress that, you know, we have today, not just in the change management space, but around workplace cultures, you know, mental health, even inclusion as well. This has only been possible because of the people who came before us and how they challenged the status quo in their own way. And I think it's really easy to lose sight of that progress, especially when we live in very turbulent, uncertain times, you know, with tech advancements rising exponentially as well. But I think it's really important to pause and recognize the good things that are still happening, the people who are doing meaningful work, and you know that change is all impossible because others have paved the way, like you said earlier. I really hold a lot of respect for that.
Okay. Mark, did you have your say? I can't remember.
Probably. I usually do.
I don't want don't want to leave anyone out.
No. Only to add to that, I think it's nice what we're seeing coming through. I think that the way we deliver change is also changing. So I think we're going to move from a model of being dropped in or supporting an organisation for a short period of time, delivering something. I think we all need to very much focus on giving organisations capabilities and maturity, because that's the direction of travel. The other thing that really frustrates me is that even today we're having this fantastic conversation. It's great, raising the profile of change, but even today, and Ron's been in it far longer than I have, it's like we almost haven't progressed in some ways. So if you walk into any business, or globally, anywhere in the world, and you go, "What's project management?" Most people could tell you. If you
Yeah.
ask them what change management is, a lot of people would struggle, and it's that keeps me going. That's why I get up every day and do this, because I love it, and because I want a world where people don't go, "What do you do? Can you explain that to me?" I want a world where it's like, "Yeah, of course you're there. You have to be there. If you're not there, it's not going to work."
Yeah,
So
Absolutely.
but it will
Okay.
happen. I'm sure it will happen. Like with all of the amazing people that are working in the change space, I'm sure that change management will become a more well-established profession.
I did like what you said as well, Monica, because when you said the older generation, I did feel like you were talking to me in wrong.
I have a bit of a question about being an established profession, and this is maybe a little bit of a critical view of you. I think you mentioned earlier on, Monica, you were involved with the CMI, Change Management Institute. Yeah. Okay, so we have the CMI, the Change Management Institute, and we have the ACMP in both America and Australia. They're totally different. Why have we got two different professional bodies that purport to look after the change management profession when one has a standard and one has a CM book? Why? Why is it? I tell you why. They want to make money. They don't look after. Sorry, I'm going to beep you.
It's great.
They don't look after, I don't think, the change profession in the way they should do.
So can I put a pause
End
on
of
that?
rant.
No, but I do think it's a conversation that needs to be had. So let me just put a pause on that. Watch this space. I've got some questions here. I know some people are really keen to get answers to their questions. So if per question, we could have one response. So if somebody's burning to answer the question. So what are your thoughts on in-house change management capability and change management teams as opposed to contractors, I'm guessing?
I think it's the direction of travel, as I said earlier. It's going to be that's how it's going to be in the future. I think there's room for everybody right now. I think there's enough, there's enough meat on the bone for all of us. Don't know why I used that analogy. That was not a good analogy. But there's plenty of work out there for all of us delivering really good change. But for me, everything is going to move to an in-house model, and you can tell that by the way budgets are going. The way people are prioritizing CM. So that's my point of view on that.
Thank you. This next question, if we could have 2 or 3 responses, because it's been directed at the panel across the board. So what's your view on change management having to be a passion-driven profession?
Passion-driven?
Yeah, passion. Doing it for the love.
Can I just say something there? And Mark will understand this and keep on mentioning him, but change management is a calling. Yeah,
100%.
It's something that people want to do.
Yeah.
Whether you call it a passion or whatever, it's a calling. Yeah. And what I've found is that most people that I've trained have all said, this is something I've wanted to do for a long time. Yeah. And I've now managed to, what they were doing before, they pivoted from being a project manager to a change manager, or they pivoted from being in HR to a change manager, which is a bit difficult, but I'm not going to go into that. So yes, it's a calling, and you can call it a passion if you want, and I've had this passion calling for 50 odd years, and it's still there, and I will take it, sorry to mention this, to my grave. To be honest, I will do that. Yeah. And that's why I do what I do nowadays, because I want to make sure that I kind of leave a bit of a legacy. Okay, I want people to remember me after I'm 6 foot under.
I'll remember you, Ron.
What a sad thought, eh? What a sad thought.
No, but you'll definitely be remembered. Trust me.
100%. Thank you, Ron. Emma.
Yeah, so Nisi, I was just going to jump in, and I totally understand, and I agree with what Ron's saying there. I think you have to be a certain type of person to, want to work in change management, and it's what gets us all out of bed in the morning because we love it, and not everyone's in that camp. But I just had a bit of a allergic reaction to using the word passion alongside change management, in the sense that we're all trying to move away from the fluffy perception of change management. And Mark, you touched on it, that there are still perceptions out there that change management is just you know, it's a nice to have. It's just something that you bring in at the end to kind of smooth things over when things start going belly up. And we know on this call that's not what change management is. And Nisi, it's something you referred to earlier, but you know, it's about the commercial. We are commercial enablers. You know, we drive outcomes, we deliver returns on investment, we deliver on benefits. And I think we all need to do more to try and help people understand that we aren't the nice to have. We are absolutely critical if people want to deliver on their business cases. And you know, you helped me a lot with the narrative here in your amazing confident changemaker course. So I do think though, collectively we really have to help educate people in understanding change management is a strategic value add activity. So that's where I had passion. I was like, oh, it's not the fluffy stuff.
Yeah. Any more to add to that before we move on to the next question?
Just to agree with Emma, you'd think it'd be common sense that you'd want to look after your people.
I know.
Because, you know, and that's why we all do what we do, because we want to look after the people. It's like a really basic, simple concept. Look after them, they'll look after you. So I agree with you, Emma, completely.
Yeah.
Ron said something about common sense not necessarily being that common. And I think sometimes it's just, for whatever reason, that direct link isn't made around if you equip and enable and empower your people to the best possible degree, they'll be able to do that for you. But for somewhere along the line, it's gotten lost. Okay, our next question. How are you experimenting with AI to improve the efficiency or impact of change management?
Okay. So an easy one for me. So one of our offerings, it's a little bit like a CMO, TMO type offering that we put into an organization. One of our strategic partners has, I know Ron's going to recoil here when I say tool, but he has like a tool for managing change. It helps. Basically, it's just like you can put stuff into it and it extract great data from it. And he's introduced AI into that. And I think it's a genius thing. I love it. But there was lots of conversations back and forth, because the other thing that I found is it's great if you're going into meet a client that you can talk with confidence about bringing AI in. Been there, done it, seen it, played with it, experienced it. And I know we all play with it anyway, but it's to have it as part of a service offering has it's helped me in conversations.
Yeah.
I think I think AI, as I said earlier on, is non-negotiable, and I think the issue is it's a bit of a problem, to be honest, because the way organisations are implementing AI is quite a sort of structured process, whereas trying to get to understand AI isn't that structured. You play with it, you experiment with it, you try and understand what's the best prompt to actually give them, and if it's the wrong prompt, you change your prompt, etc. So it's about experimentation, and it depends on, as a change manager, what you want to use the AI for. AI, you can obviously do analytics, etc. I use AI to check what I've written to make sure it sounds okay, so people can do different comms, etc. But it's going back to saying it's all about experimentation, and I don't think you can try and implement it as rigidly as you can a normal technology type implementation. You've got to allow people a little bit of leeway. You can't say, look, these are the new ways of working, this is what you've got to do. You've got to say, look, this is what AI can do for you. This is why we think it can help you. So have a look at it, have a play with it, see what you can do, see what you can't do. And experiment with it. And then if you come up with something that you think is, hey, this is going to save me loads of time, so I'll go with this. But boom, you've got a solution out of AI. But the key, as I said, the key is experimentation, not kind of do it this way. This is the new ways of working.
Totally agree, everybody. And I think the other thing is, for years we talked about digital transformation, whether it was ERP, CRMs, whatever, digital transformation. This is how you do it, We talked about agile, waterfall, blah, blah, blah. All of that, when you're rolling out AI, it's like digital transformation on speed, because you can just do it so quickly and it's there, it's installed. People start playing with it, as you say, Ron. So it's a whole different way of working for us, as well as ways of working for, our clients.
Yeah. Sorry, Monica, were you going to say something?
Yeah, sorry, can I just add one thing? I completely agree with what Ron and Mark said about AI, and I definitely think that AI is definitely reshaping how we work as change practitioners, and we definitely need to stay up to date with things and make sure that we use it to work smarter and not harder. I personally use it for, many things, from, the basics of summarizing meetings, doing like sentiment analysis on like surveys and stuff like that, brainstorming ideas. So it's definitely like a great support tool. But I do think at the end of the day, so much of the change work that we do will always be about people, building trust, creating safe spaces, having meaningful conversations. And that's incredibly complex. And I don't think AI can replace that human connection. And maybe this is a bit controversial and maybe a bit Gen Z of me, but I also think we need to be mindful as well of the AI's environmental impact as well. I think it is important that we use it when it's truly needed and that when it adds value, and not just for the sake of trying to integrate it at every single step. I think it needs to be a balance.
Absolutely. And that environmental impact is often overlooked. I remember hearing a crazy stat about each search you do is equivalent to however many gallons of water. And it's, that's
Yeah,
something that's often overlooked. So it's not just, like, oh, for every little thing, using it as a search engine, like really being
exactly.
considered about the way you use it, because it is our planet that's being impacted.
Absolutely.
Sure.
Yeah, sorry, Monica, you finished?
No, you go on.
I think you took the words out of my mouth, to be honest, but I was just going to agree with Monica in terms of AI could work in our favor, and I use AI a lot as well, if I'm going to be transparent. But that comes to more the side of reporting, analysis, and all of that stuff, which gives us change practitioners some more time to focus on the human-centered kind of approach, and being able to communicate and be empathetic. That all still relies within us, and you can leave the rest to AI when it comes to stuff like that. But yeah, using it in moderation, I think, is the way forward, especially in change. So yeah, that's just totally agreeing.
Absolutely. Thank you. So we have got 1 minute left, and just to squeeze the most out of time for the people who are listening now, what's one piece of advice you would give for them on their change journey?
You've just
Summarise with
disappointed
one sentence.
thousands, Lizzie. You've just disappointed thousands of people. We've only got a minute left. I can hear the tears. It's just.
There's literally water coming out of my phone for the people crying on the line.
Oh my God.
Sorry, what was the question?
I would say, we've talked about it before earlier on, I would say just don't get hung up on sort of structure, methodology, model, whatever. Think outside the box, for goodness sake. Use your common sense.
Yeah.
And I would just share a phrase. It's a principle I live my life by and always take into my customer assignments. But try and leave the world in a better place than you found it. So having that principle in everything you do, I can tell Mark's going to give me banter now. Having that principle though in everything you do, and in all of your conversations, everyone has positive intent, really. So it's just making sure that we don't lose sight of the fact that we're all humans. We're all trying to do the right thing, and let's help bring that out of people, rather than put people in a position where they feel, shut down or they can't raise their concerns for whatever reason.
Absolutely.
And Mark's desperate to give me banter. I can see on the face.
No. I was going to say, if I was giving any advice, just follow me on LinkedIn. Ironically, my genuine advice is stay humble. It's just stay humble. Stay, like I say, we're all people at all levels. Doesn't matter who you're working with. Just remember, everybody has their own things going on, and that does impact how they see change in the workplace. So just keep that in mind. Be humble. Despite what I said about following me on LinkedIn.
But do that too.
But follow me on LinkedIn as well.
But do that as well. Yeah, that would really help.
Yeah.
Monica?
I'll probably say one piece of advice would be when we design and deliver change, we need to take an inclusive, intersectional lens as well. And put people at the heart of change, because we all have all sorts of different experiences. They're shaped by so many factors, culture, caregiving responsibilities, neurodiversity, people navigating grief, and all sorts of things that they might not even be thinking about or talking about. And I just think it's really important that we do things in an inclusive way, so that we are not unintentionally excluding people when looking at supporting them navigating change.
Thank you. And Mathura?
I would say when it comes to change, just remember we're all human. We all have our own opinions, own beliefs, but just remember to be inclusive with everyone and everyone's thoughts and ideas and work on that. And there's more beyond these frameworks as well. So.
Thank you. Okay, so we are at time now. In fact, over time a little bit. You can follow everybody who's on this live on LinkedIn. So if you're watching on YouTube, jump onto LinkedIn. I think everybody here, their name is as it appears on LinkedIn, but Ron Lehman. So if you just add Ron's surname. And thank you all so much for your time. If you do have any further questions, drop them in the chat or drop anybody here a DM. I'm sure they'll be happy to hear from you. Otherwise, have an amazing rest of your day. And thank you so much all to the panel for your time, for your insights, for your humor and humility. Really, really appreciate it. Thank you so much. Take care. All right, then.